Yeah, so go ahead whenever you're ready.
Doing it totally off the cuff. Now everybody can see our lovely, lovely faces, but Dave can't see us. Have you got them yet, Nando?
I still can't see Dave.
Yeah,
Hello, everyone. This is
Hi!
This is That Comic Smell podcast coming to you absolutely live and unfiltered for the first time ever. I'm slightly keeking my pants, so I'm just going to get on with the introductions here. I'm Tom Stewart, and I'm joined by my brilliant co-host David Robertson.
David Robertson!
Fernando Pons.
Hi there.
And Mike Sadaka.
Hello.
And I'll just pretend that this plant is Giuseppe. Okay? Because Giuseppe couldn't join us today. So, if anybody's been following along in the Twitter over the past couple of days, you'll know that we are going to be discussing the 3 top comic creators of all time. Now, between all of us, we have done a kind of list back and forward a wee while back, and we never really got a chance to explore it fully between all of us in the meetings, so we're kind of taking that chance now. So we're just going to keep chatting away like we normally do. We're not going to keep this as formal or anything as the guys that warmed up for us. Thanks very much, Awesome Pod. And we'll just crack on. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat on Twitch and the Twitter notifications and that as well. So if anybody wants to chime in or give us any questions or anything along the way, please feel free to do so. And let's remember that we are here for SparkCon2020, and there is a little donation bit down. I think if you hit !donate, you can get information on how to get to the Just Giving page and stuff like that for Little Heroes. I just thought I'd quickly mention that whilst we got a chance. Okay, so we're just going to crack on. So, top 3 comic creators. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to let Nando chime in with his signature.
The usual, the way it was happening, we're talking about all kind of nonsense, and suddenly I have to, half an hour later, I mean, what's going on? Yeah. So, top 3 comic creators of horror history ever exist. Right. So, off we go.
Nice.
I got a few here, but I don't know who wants to start.
I think we should point out before we start that, you know, people think about these kind of things. Comics people are always thinking about this kind of thing, and and so we are as well. So I just think we should figure out who the top 3 creators are, and then that'll be it, and nobody will ever have to think about it ever again. So we are going to sort this out today, okay?
Obviously,
Yeah,
our
completely.
opinion is...
It's not just your opinion. This is absolute fact now. Once we are done, that's it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, that sounds alright. Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, like I say, we did a list kind of back and forward to each other a wee while back. It was meant to be a top 20, but we ended up doing what top 30 or something like that, which was ridiculous. But there was a top 20 that kind of went back and forward between each other, and we did have some kind of consistencies throughout there as well. But we'll get to that. We'll work our way through. We'll just do our usual, guys. We'll just see what everybody's got with them, and then we can kind of collect the consistent ones at the end and see who we've got to pick our top 3 in our Holy Trinity.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Good.
All right.
Nice.
Who's first?
You're going, Nando?
Yeah, I can go ahead. Yeah, no problem. So, I'm going to start with one that I did not put in that list.
Oh, all right, okay.
I like to start like that. Yeah, I'm gonna go for Will Eisner. Will Eisner.
Oof. Okay.
Will Eisner. If we're looking back, his importance in history as a comic creator as well. He wanted and understood that comic was a medium beyond what was treated at that time when he started to work. He wanted to elevate the comic and created also the graphic novel term. And it's a huge influence to many other authors that have come after him. So yeah, Will Eisner to me is probably one to discuss, and it could be one of them.
Okay.
And I didn't have it list. I didn't put in that list initially, but yeah, Will Eisner. That's what I was thinking today about.
What's what would you say your favorite Will Eisner work is, personally?
Contact with God. That's probably the Contact with God trilogy. Is probably my favorite one. I'd like to show you in the camera. It shows. I mean, that to me is a magnificent book. And it's not just the art and what he tries to do, from the page structure to script, the themes, techniques. It's just everything. And as I said before, he studied the sequential art and the comic, and I think to me he's a huge pillar of the comic and how he elevated to the a major status, because comic was considered something for kids then, and he worked hard to make sure that it was elevated, and it brought that forward. And it's a huge influence for everyone, I think. So yeah, that's I think it's a good reason enough for that selection, or to be considered selection. Shall I keep going?
Yeah, just keep going. I was going to say though, he is like, he is top tier. He's one of those that kind of defines the genre in a way. Very much defines comic books in a way overall, and is used as the kind of main influence behind a lot of people and their trajectory along the way, and who they found interesting along the way. Will Eisner usually comes up in sort of the big heavy hitters influences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's something else.
I was thinking about it today, and I thought, we need to speak about Will Eisner. It needs to be mentioned. I know it's an author from years ago. I know it's not a modern one or recent one, but his importance for the medium is huge. We should not forget that, because there are many things, many artists, authors, writers nowadays are working, and they have been influenced directly or indirectly by Will Eisner's work. It's one of those authors that you study, you look, you read, you want to know more about it. Why he's doing these things? How he came to that point and how he used that technique, or So yeah, it's one of those. Yeah. So that definitely for me is one to be discussed. Certainly there.
Okay.
So keep going.
Yeah, just keep going, dude. Yeah.
Going.
And then also guys, remember, if you disagree with anything Nando's saying or have anything to pop in, then just just take them down.
My opinion, okay? That's no my opinion on this. That's nothing else. Okay. So we'll go with Eisner there. We got a little tick. So yeah, the next one is a favorite of mine. Jack Kirby.
Yes.
Yeah, the King Kirby. So
somebody's just said there actually that the real question is who's top two after Jack Kirby, and I think with you just saying that there, I think we need to kind of address something at the top, at least for Kirby, is that Kirby is like
a top for all of us, isn't he?
They,
straight up with the Kirby.
Hell yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he is. He's the king.
He was, he is, and he will be always the king. His work is amazing. I mean, and it's not that it's the volume of work. There's so much stuff that, and it's just, yeah, it's the king. He's Kirby. There's no other words. There's no words to describe what he did for history of comics and what he did for so many. Yeah, so it's a huge influence for many authors as well. So yeah. That's why he was the king.
We have a
So
regular
that's-
section of each programme where we sit and sort of lose our minds for about 10 minutes thinking about Jack Kirby before we get on with the topic at hand. It's every episode.
There's always one of those recurrent themes, topics. So one of the guys is always appear, and it's Kirby. That's why it's a big influence, certainly. Mike was showing the Demon there.
Yeah.
Which is that's great. It's fantastic. So that's just a little piece of the amount of stuff he did. Yeah, again, I mean, who other artist has, that's fantastic. Yeah, you're a great page. Who other artist has a graphic term after his name, like Kirby Krakow? You know, just to put just an example of his influence in the medium again. So huge, certainly up there for discussion. And I think it's one of the favorites from all of us.
He's what we always have to keep in mind as well. I mean, all these people are watching all these Marvel and what is going to come up in the DC pantheon, all these films and everything as well. Without Kirby, you've not got any of that.
Yeah.
Just even with the characters that maybe he didn't even create, with his influence, you've just got no Marvel universe effectively. Well, I think anyway, you've got no Marvel universe from what I see without Kirby.
No, he was the co-creator of so many characters, and that's the thing is, without him, you wouldn't have the Marvel universe that you have. You wouldn't have a great deal of the DC universe either. We will have so many things. It's just it's huge. It's a huge influence. And if you look back, and it's his amount of work as well. It's the volume. There's thousands and thousands of pages. It's just huge.
Yep. I mean, what you've got the Demon, Commandy, Mr. Miracle, New Gods, OMAC,
Big Barda.
Big Barda, Black Panther, Captain America,
Fantastic.
Fantastic Four, yeah. Just Machine Man.
The Hulk.
Yep.
You know, so
Just-
the list goes and goes and goes. So it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. So I think we better just say at the top, Kirby is going to be like that's the first pick. That's it. You know what I mean? Kirby is there.
Kirby's one. Yeah, definitely Kirby's one. Yeah.
We've got a couple of people saying Kirby made every panel and action panel. There you go. And somebody else, Pete Dory, saying without Kirby, there's no Marvel, very little DC, and no movies. You're absolutely right. There we go.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. Definitely Kirby's a huge influence there. What else I have in this list? Well, I don't know. I got a guy called Bill Watterson with this comic.
You're jumping right to that, Nando.
What are you doing?
I just names.
Okay, that's good.
We're talking top creators, so
Yeah.
we need to up the game here,
Yeah, you can't mess around.
Well, wait a minute then. Wait a minute. Before we go jumping into Bill Watterson, I've had a wait a minute. We've had a question
Alright.
from Pepsi Scrolls that says, when did Kirby peak, if he did?
to me, it peaked actually at DC. To me.
Oh, okay.
See, when he tried and created, especially the fourth world stories, with Mr. Miracle and the rest, and the New Gods and all the different series together, tried to make that such a big concept series, my smaller universe within the DC universe. To me, that was probably his peak. Not that he went down very much after that, but that's probably, to me, the huge point, because he was the full creator. He didn't have to rely on anyone else. He didn't have Stanley, or didn't have no. It was just him, and he did what he had to do. He came to Marvel. He did really well with few things, but probably the New Gods is just there. Even though it wasn't a success in sales then, but everyone talks about Kirby, talks about this universe in Kirby, and you go back to that. You go back to Command, you go back to the Fourth World, you go back to those series.
Okay.
I agree with that. It probably is the purest Kirby, isn't it? It's where his ambitions are running riot kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think probably the nostalgia. My favourite is probably things like FF and the Hulk and stuff from the 60s. But it pains me to say that, because I don't want to say anything bad about, Mr. Miracle and Fourth World. I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a gun at my head, so I'll say FF.
There's a gun at you.
Well, I'd rather just dodge the question, but I feel, I better say an answer. So there's my answer.
Okay, right.
Curse you,
Mike,
whoever asked that.
Well, I don't really
got a
like
peak,
the
do you think?
of him peaking, but I do think he was strategically important for that big bang of Marvel titles during the early 60s, and without him, we all those characters just emerging. That's what But I really don't like to think of him peaking at any point, but if I had to choose a time, it would probably be that time. Not that I'm putting any of his DC work down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said, Mike.
Somebody else asks, how many of Kirby's creations did he actually do significant work on? Not trying to knock him, but much like Deadpool, Liefeld takes credits, but this Deadpool is not his Deadpool.
Liefeld takes credits out of Captain America's chest as well.
Yeah.
I think that question had both Kirby and Liefeld in it, and they were being compared in some way. And my brain just kind of shut down there. I couldn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, I'm a wee bit lost on the question, to be honest. But hey, thank you anyway.
Good question. You stumped me.
I suppose that if we look into Kirby's creation for Marvel, what he helped to create in Marvel, and what he did in DC, we are looking at comics that were created in the 60s and in the 70s for DC. And many other authors and artists have been working with those characters after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he stayed for a very long time in Fantastic Four. I don't know how many issues. He stayed for a very long time in Kamandi, for example, in DC. And he did many other works. I mean, that's the difference with Kirby. I mean, I don't think that applies so much for him, because he constantly did tons and tons of comics. And yes, it was used by Marvel to start all the series, like the X-Men, Hulk, the first 5-6 issues are by him, the Avengers, Nick Fury, all of this. But still, he's a huge influence. The other authors came and they put their own imprint to the characters that he created or co-created. Yeah, fair enough. How much? I don't know. That's open to discussion too, because that's a very difficult one to answer.
Yeah.
we get exactly the same in animation. Quite often, an animator will create a character, then there's a new work team takes over, and the director of animation puts their own spin on that character. And the best example is actually Daffy Duck, created by, I think there's a few question marks over the creation, but the one most people mention is Tex Avery, who had an insane character, and then Chuck Jones took over, Fred Freeling took over, and they all have a different spin on the same character. So I think it's a bit of a parallel with comic characters as well. I had to throw in animation at some point.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Right. Okay, Nando, you were ready to absolutely flop a massive one on the table there.
Well, you know, it's just Bill Watterson and Calvin and Hobbes.
Right. Oh, just
nothing huge, you know. It's just
just
a
nobody.
newspaper thing, you know, nothing.
Not anybody's like favorite comic of all time or anything. Not at all. Not in the slightest. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's a big one to whip out.
Well, if we're going to talk about top creators, this needs to happen. You know, we're gonna have. It's not gonna be an easy thing. You know, we have to really work on this. Yeah, Bill Watterson. I think if you know or read Calvin and Hobbes, and if you haven't, go and read them now.
Yes.
Because it's just marvelous. All age comic strips. It seems very easy. It seems very simple. There is an incredible amount of work there, and yes, it's just. I mean, it's one of the masters. So yeah, I don't think there's any need to say anything more.
Calvin and Hobbes as a whole body of work from one person is just unreal. I mean, that's what 10 years or something of strips, and it was just like 10 years done. That's it. No more, nothing more, nothing less. You know, it was literally just bang out some of the most well constructed, well thought out, beautifully illustrated strips that you can ever imagine. The most effortless yet technically minded comic ever, with the complete imagination and creativity of every single comic form thrown together. Like, I cannot gush about this enough. Like, I love Bill Watterson for creating that series. I absolutely adore Calvin and Hobbes. That name alone is enough to make me explode, as you can see. Like, it's just, it cannot be stated enough that Watterson is an absolute genius of the craft in comics, but especially in strip work. I mean, obviously he took a lot of influence himself from Charles Schultz, and you know, Schultz kept going basically right up until the day he died, you know. But Charles Schultz kept going. That's the thing. Whereas Bill Watterson chose to do what he did and end it, and that was it. And he was, you know, it's kind of like, oh, I'm done with that now. I'm happy, finished. And
I'm glad you mentioned Schultz, because I was gonna say probably Watterson would not have done Calvin and Hobbes without, you know, Peanuts happened years before. But yeah, definitely I agree with you, Tom, on that one. Dave?
Oh yeah, I love Calvin and Hobbes, as you guys know. Bill Watterson, brilliant. He was the first issue of the Comics Journal I picked up was the one with the big interview with Bill Watterson, 1989, and that was how I first heard of it, and just loved it to bits. Still do.
Wonderful.
I know I keep kind of going back to this though, but I think to create something like that and finish it and still be talking about it this many years later at the level that we're still speaking about it, and for people to hold it in such high esteem when you're only really mainly known for that one series, that's an incredible feat in itself, and shows the mark of a truly great comic creator slash just all round artist. You know, it invokes so much emotion, and that is what art is there to do, is to invoke emotion and discussion and everything, and he does just that in even just a single panel, let alone 10 years worth of work, you know.
I think he probably did quite well to not get toys and everything made of it and cartoons and stuff, because it means every generation people can kind of discover it for themselves, like they've discovered it. You know, because Peanuts is obviously great as well, but it's also a load of toys and cartoons and stuff, and so that's more a bit like Mickey Mouse or something than Calvin and Hobbes is.
So you think the commercialization of it detracts from the actual original work then?
Well, a little bit. Yeah. You know, somebody that's 11 or 12 or even younger can be reading Calvin and Hobbes for the first time right now and going, what's this? And they've never heard of it, you know. And they discover it and it blows their mind. And that just keeps happening in a little way as the decades go by. Whereas before you've even read a Peanuts comic, you know what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it's and you've seen it before,
yeah. I think that
kind of reminds me of sorry, I'm jumping in here. Kind of reminds me, we're talking about the style of comic. It reminds me of Jim Davis and Gary Larson, who are at two extremes as well. Gary Larson did his Far Side, and like Bill Watterson, he ended it after 10 or 12 years and did very, very little in terms of merchandise. Whereas Jim Davis has been going on since 1978. And if you remember, John Menzies during the 80s had row after row of Garfield merchandise. But I do have to admit I'm a fan of both their artwork, but I kind of find the interesting parallels between one who does little in merchandise and kept it to a few years, and another one who does lots of merchandise and is still going. But they're still pretty much as popular as each other.
I guess it's kind of like what Dave said, though, in that if you see merchandise or cartoons or whatever, you will then find you relate with that because of that particular thing, not necessarily because of the strip. So you have no tangible link to the strip whatsoever. I mean, you could end up finding...
I think of Garfield first from the animated specials during the 80s. I think of first from that, but I don't think of him immediately from the comics.
Do you think Bill Murray should have got the Oscar?
I think Lorenzo Music and Lou Rawls should have got the Oscar for the original Garfield voice. As much a fan of Bill Murray as I am.
That's very diplomatic of you. Okay, right.
So that's Watson.
Yeah, I've got something on that later, but that's fine. Just continue on, Nando. You keep working your way through that beautiful list of yours.
Yeah, well, I decided to take a couple of them out just to make it shorter, because if not, it's gonna last very long. But I got another 1, 2, 3, 4 more names. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm gonna change. We're gonna leave United States of America and we're gonna go to Europe. And I'm gonna mention someone called Hergé. Now, for many, that might not be the comic creator in the top list. Maybe we forget about it because he only did Tintin, but it's incredibly big in Europe. Without Hergé, there wouldn't be many other series after that. He defined the style, a style that followed, and a technique and application of colors that many European comics and artists have followed after that. So it's a huge figure in comics, and certainly in Europe. Perhaps in the United States, not It's not that well known there, actually. Here in Britain, there was a cartoon TV series. It's been a film. Obviously, we know the comics as well. The comics have been here for many, many years. But it's not as popular as many other authors or writers, despite the fact you go to France, you go to Belgium, and you go to Europe, and it's incredibly important. So, yeah, Berger. What are your thoughts about that one? Again, I didn't put that in the list that you have.
You're just trying to surprise us at every bit.
Well, he's undoubtedly brilliant. For me personally, I probably wouldn't put him in my list because, for the simple reason, I never read any Tintin until I was in my teens, late teens, in fact. So, although I really like it and admire it, I don't have the childhood connection to it.
Because I started to read Tintin when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 38 years.
Yeah.
Ago that I started to read Tintin. So to me, it's huge. But again, I understand it's a more a European thing. But I want to name it. I want to mention it because we often forget about his work, and we often forget about Berger when we're talking about comics, and we should expand our views on comics, and we should read more comics. And that's one of those ones because once all this happens and the public libraries are open again, most of the public libraries in the country have Tintin in the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
So read them. This is one of those that we should always read.
I always think it's worth pointing out that Asterix and Tintin are the two that somehow escaped the comics ghetto for decades, and they're in the public libraries, and they're everywhere. They've not got the same status as other comics in Britain. I'm talking here. So a lot of people, like you'd say, do you read any comics? No. Tintin. Oh well, yeah, I read that, but
So you think it's
no?
So you think it's on the same level as like your Beanos and Dandies and stuff?
It's maybe even more prevalent than that, because people would still think the Beano and Dandy were a comic that they bought and read. But whereas Tintin and Asterix are just like books that they read.
Right.
Okay. Without thinking about them being comics.
The massive elephant in the room with Tintin is that there is some questionable books within the pantheon of them as well. There is some dated references and whatnot.
Well, I've got Robert Crumb on my list, so
No, I know, but you know what I mean. For something that at the time was more aimed for sort of children's adventure books, it is something to take into account the depiction of people from other cultures, or the depiction of just certain cultural aspects that probably wouldn't be depicted now within a book. It is something that you've got to remember that happens. To be fair, I think if I remember rightly, Hershey actually apologised years later, saying that it was a product of the time, but he did apologise for how it was depicted.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, which is pretty. I mean, that's pretty amazing. It's pretty good to kind of suck it up and say, "Yep, I was wrong." But at the same point,
and nowadays when you buy Tintin in the Congo, and for a few years now it comes kind of wrapped and it's got like a explanation on it. This thing is offensive as hell. So it kind of it puts it into context before you get to open it.
Yeah.
Which is something, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, Nando.
Okay. Next one, without leaving Europe, we need to mention Jean-Giraud Moebius.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Oh. So you say it, and I can see it. I can literally see his artwork the minute you even say the name.
Man, Jean-Giraud to me, Moebius again. That's something I discovered later in my teens in Spain. Obviously, very well known in Europe, but again, it's just magnificent work. He did with other writers. He also did comics on his own. Incredible artist. And the one thing that I'm always a fan of is his Lieutenant Blueberry, which is a western, which only very few have been published in English many years ago. Well, it's a huge collection. It's a really big. It did about 20 or 30 books in total, I think, himself, with Charlier as the writer, many of them. And then he followed the series on his own. He was the writer and the artist. He was also the artist for the Incal with Jodorowsky. He's done many things. The Airtight Garage, there's many other things that he's done and he's been doing. So yeah.
Just gonna give a.
Hello?
I was gonna say, just gonna give a quick example, if you can see.
Yeah. That's Blueberry there.
Just incredible.
Really good.
Unbelievable. Like just the amount of detail that he goes into as well. It's so effortless in places, but it just unreal.
And he if you get the early Blueberry books as you go along, and then when he reached the 80s, that he started to experiment with his art, and he became more the Morbius from science fiction that we are aware of. So yeah, that's it's one of the greatest.
Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely. Guys, what's been your experiences with Morbius over the years?
Well, we've suffered from a lot of his stuff not being very available here.
Yeah, that's volunteer. Yeah.
To a shocking degree, really. It was only really after he died I realised just how little I had, and then how much was even available. But I got the Incal. I went to Paris 20 odd years ago and picked up a little paperback of the Incal, and really liked that. And then I've bought the big collection of that I've been working through, and yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's excellent.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the only experience
I
I
got it again.
I see you guys.
Yeah, did you know you didn't get much of it, Mike? Did you?
No.
It's there's a great I think I sent it on to you folks before. There's a great documentary that was on, I want to say BBC 4, and you can get it on YouTube actually. It's something like Finding Mobius or something like that.
I remember watching it and recording it on VHS when it was on. 2007, I think.
Yeah.
It was good.
That's a good insight, definitely. And it goes through like all these collaborators and everything as well, the entire history and stuff. It's it's relatively short piece, but it really does cover like everything throughout his career. And it's obviously got interviews with him before he died and everything as well, which is just unreal. It's a really good piece. But it is on. I'm sure it's on. You can just get it on YouTube. It's like
I've
5
seen
minutes
it.
long or something. Yeah. And I think I've seen the guys at Cartoonist Kayfabe going through a couple of issues of Heavy Metal with his stuff in it and that as well. Anyway,
tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Right, you've got a couple more.
I got two more, yeah. So second last, not necessarily in that order. But I decided to put Alan Moore.
Alan Moore.
It's one of those names that we always mention practically in every meeting. One way or another, we mention either one of his comics or his work, which is incredibly huge. But if we're talking about the biggest and the greatest comic creators, then we should mention Alan Moore there, because undoubtedly is the best comic writer we certainly have in our generation that we have enjoyed. And there's so many that he's done, from V for Vendetta, the Saga of the Swamp Thing, Watchmen, The Killing Joke, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Thomas Strong, and the list goes on. Promethea, list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and Quench.
Yeah, I mean, it's endless. It's endless. And he, again, in a way, he knew that the comic had more potential. He elevated the comic again from the comic book. Exactly. Incredible work with Dave Gibbons there, Watchmen. They elevated the comic. It's not something just for kids. It can be adult, it can be mature, it can be talk about something really serious. And he realizes the potential of the comic, and it's another art, and he worked to make sure that was understood and seen in that way. From Hell, another one, because just the names come in, so yeah, I mean, we have to mention it. It has to be mentioned. Alan Moore.
Yeah. I think Alan Moore's definitely a one that when we ever meet up, we're going through all the books, and it doesn't matter what the topic is, we'll end up coming to, oh well, of course Alan Moore's done a comic about such and such, and Alan Moore's done an allegory of this within such and such, or yeah, well, he was influenced by Moore's stuff. He always comes up 100%, and it could be argued as well that he is such a good writer, and he's so detailed in his writing, that in a way he's almost an artist with what he writes. I mean, a lot of the descriptions in which he goes into, it paints a picture, like the mind just paints a picture from what he's written. It's unreal.
His dominion of language is paramount. It's fantastic, and he uses that to his advantage, and he's used that for many years. We've seen the scripts which are incredibly extensive and detailed for the artist, and takes the artist in consideration, the strengths and the weaknesses. So yeah, I think it needs to be mentioned. Yeah, he's not an artist, he's a writer, but he's a hell of a writer, man.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone seen the Wikipedia entry for Alan Moore? It says he is one of the few writers, in fact anyone that's worked in comics, that has allegedly met one of his creations. 2 incidents. Apparently he met John Constantine.
At a police concert.
Well, one of them, I don't know if he was drinking at the time or whatever, but allegedly he met him, and the first time Constantine said he made a reference towards magic.
Yeah.
Well, I stress this was on Wikipedia, so it may.
No, I've heard that story as well.
Oh, great! So not going mad.
So it must be true.
It's definitely it'll definitely have something to do with the magic element, but this to each their own beliefs and whatnot. And if you feel that you've met your creation, then by all means, the man's a fucking genius. He could do what he wants.
It was very interesting in that From Hell companion that Eddie Campbell put together. I think that was where I first heard about this. He said From Hell was finished and all done, and then he saw Alan Moore had, before he'd written the script, he actually lays it all out. When he writes it, he lays it out as a comic page to write it, and then translates that into the script. So you can tell he does have a really good command of how it should visually flow as well on the page. That's part of his writing.
That's something I never actually realised. I didn't know that he laid it out as a comic first.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Andy does that with all these comics, and then turns it into a script and sends it to the artist, and doesn't show them what he's done, his layouts.
Nice. Nice.
Very good.
Okay. Is that? Oh, you got one more?
One more. This is. I was thinking about everything. This is my late entry. And part of the reason is I was thinking about some of the books I've mentioned in Nando's Comic of the Day to you guys. A few of them are by him. Then also I remember the podcast we did about comics in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to mention him, and it's Frank Miller.
Oh.
And Frank Miller is a career that started in the 70s in Marvel, especially with Daredevil. Then from there, he kept going working in the 80s, the Batman Year One, Ronin, The Dark Knight. We have, the list is huge, Sin City, Give Me Liberty, then 300, and so on and so forth. I mean, to me, it's certainly an author that I've grown up, and lately it's not been the Frank Miller that I liked. Some of the stuff lately I don't like, but up to 300 and Sin City to me is a fantastic creator. Very, very solid, very experienced, has transcended the medium. He also worked in the movie industry, has brought elements from the movie industry to the comic and vice versa. It might not be the best artist of all, but certainly he did not stop to experiment and try things as he was going along. He did that with Daredevil initially. He did that with The Dark Knight. He did that with Sin City. So yeah, to me, I had to put it there as well.
Nice.
And that's not everyone. That's it.
Okay. I've been marking off some of the. Yeah, well done. I've been marking off a lot of mine that you had as well along the way. So I'm trying to think who. Oh, sorry, 2 seconds. So So I had Jack Kirby, Bill Watterson, and Alan Moore in there as well. I actually brought along Year One because I did think about Frank Miller, but for myself, Frank Miller only goes so far, and then I kind of fall off after a while. He kind of loses it for me as it goes on, especially art wise. There's just not a connect with me at all. Personally, I know lots of people who really love the way his art went, and the fact that it's very much him, and it's it's free flowing and everything. Like, people really get on board with it, but it's not my bag, not at all.
That's fair enough.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna rattle through mine rather quickly, and I kind of want to start off by saying some honourable mentions, because I had some other folk on here that I wouldn't quite put as top material, but they very much are sort of artists and writers and stuff that I look out for day to day, really, within work. So the big one to start off is probably going to be Derf Back Derf. Like, total favourite. Like, you boys bought me an original and everything, but he's got such a small amount of work that he's not quite on the top 3 godlike tier. Still a 10 out of 10, still a top 5 stars, but not quite top tier. And then I've got like Jeffrey Brown, Jamie McKelvey, Ty Templeton, Steve Rood, Ken Reed, Charles Schultz was obviously there, but we spoke about Charles Schultz. Jim Lee I think gets understated quite a lot. Definitely, I know you're gonna hate me for this one, Nando, but Pakaroka.
Well, Pakaroka is one of my favorites, but you know, he doesn't have the influence to me. Generally speaking, you know, it's too new and it needs to be known further. I think it doesn't have the experience, so you know, it's quite recent to me. But yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. It's one of my favorites. All collection stuff. But yeah, Michael Roca.
Yeah. There's also Charles Burns, Joan Cornea, and also two people that I actually know, and I very much appreciate them as comic artists, and they do make it up to top tier for me, and that is our very own David Robertson. And and John Tucker as well. John Tucker is up there for me, definitely. Yeah,
Man, you can't say a load of names like that and then put my name in as well. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, fuck yeah. For me, this is personal. You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate that. Let's move along.
I had some other honorable mentions, but I'm leaving them off. You'll just have to wait until another episode of That Comic Smell to find out if they ever pop up again. So I'm going to come in with the big ones. Okay, so I had Jack Kirby, I had Bill Watterson, I had Alan Moore. But a massive one that his style is just leaps and bounds, and I absolutely adore this man's work. It is one of the first ones that I ever kind of saw getting into comics as well. And I just couldn't believe that somebody could create visions like this, and it was Alex Ross.
Alex Ross, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When you've got him doing covers for, like, say, I'm working on, like, say, Astro City, and you've got him doing books like Kingdom Come and Marvels and Justice, like really big titles, but when it's all these painted, beautiful, realistic looking things, and you know, to put these in comic form as well, it's just unreal. These things are proper massive portrait paintings that should be viewed in a gallery, in my opinion, and they're put into the pages of a comic. I've got here Superman Peace on Earth. Now, this was like there was a three-parter. It was the Trinity, wasn't it? He did Wonder Woman, a Superman, and a Batman one, if I remember rightly.
Justice League, was it? There was a Justice League one, I think.
There's a Justice League as well.
Was there a Justice League one as well?
Yeah.
Well, I've got the Superman Peace on Earth one, and even from that cover, Superman's face, it's just, honestly, the lighting, the color choice, like everything is just unbelievable. I mean, some of these pages are just, they're proper works. I mean, don't get me wrong, comic artists create works of art, but this is unfucking believable. You've got Superman taking somebody out of a building. I can feel the heat coming off of that fire that's coming around them. Alex Ross for me is definitely top tier, 100%. So that's my first heavy hitter. Do you folks have much experience with Ross's work?
Yes, I have the big book that has all the DC ones that you show there, the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. I got over there on the shelf. Marvel's, Kingdom Come, I got those. And yes, I mean, as an artist, it's incredible. Uses a lot of photography reference on it, but he has to in order to accomplish the style that he goes for. because this sort of hyper-realistic style, to get the lighting, the volume, the shadows, everything, you require photo reference to it. It's just fantastic. Even though, I mean, I've seen a lot of the sketches that he's done for series like Earth X and Universe X for DC and for Marvel, and other stuff, and also his pencils are fantastic, and he is really, really good. Yeah, no doubt on that. So yeah, I really like him. I put him in that top tier. The top tier would start to be very heavy. So, it's one of my it's one of my favorite artists, but yeah, it's not quite there.
Okay, you're breaking my heart, but okay.
Again, it's my opinion. That's I really like. My opinion.
I go as far as Marvels really with Alex Ross. When that came out, I thought it was great and I loved it. And the story was a great analogy. Kurt Busiek, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great analogy for being a big fan of Marvel, growing up with it, and then sort of growing out of it. And that was the analogy of the story. That's the way I liked to read it. And it did look fabulous. But then when they did the DC one, Kingdom Come, that looked fabulous as well, but the story wasn't. That was much more continuity, wasn't it? It was the future of the DC universe or something like that, and it didn't really grab me as much. And I realised pretty quick that the novelty of superhero comics that looked like that had ran out for me already with the Alex Ross stuff. So I do think Marvels is really great, but I don't really. Sorry, Tom, I don't really go any further than that with Alex. I'm sure he's bothered,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Sorry, man.
It's alright. I'll quietly cry later on. It's okay. Pushing on, the next one for me, and I've said this to you folks quite a lot, is Francesco Francavilla. Now I know he is actually one that I do know a lot of people say is an acquired taste. But I think the man's output is something fierce. I mean, he's constantly drawing, he's constantly painting. His social media feeds are usually just filled with videos of him doing new paintings, new things, constantly working on stuff. I mean, he's done work on Archie, he's done work on Batman, he's done work on, was it the Black Hood or something like that as well? He's done work on loads of different titles. He's quite a sought-after artist. But what I like about him the most is that he can depict, I think he can depict a Dark Knight, not the Dark Knight, but a Dark Knight, better than anyone. I think he gets the atmosphere of a looming doom in a scene better than anybody I've seen before. I mean, take this picture of even just Batman popping out of the sewers, for example. There's just something about it. It's just the fact that he's sort of creeping about in the back alleys of Gotham City in the bloody sewers of all things. But even that little bit of the city in the background and the night sky and everything, there's a sort of mysticism about it and a wee bit of this guy is prowling and everybody beware, just in the sense of that one picture, And
is this going to be available to watch later on? Because I'd love to see what you're talking about here.
No, I'll send a picture to you.
Alright, yeah. You're making it sound good.
Yeah, but he does some interesting stuff with words and sound effects and that over the top of panels as well. He's got his own sort of creepy writing style and that as well. He is more suited to horror pieces, I would say. But he is definitely a top tier artist for me, 100%, and a top tier creator because, like I say, he's just constantly putting stuff out. he doesn't stop. He just kind of, he picks a topic and just starts making all these photos constantly. His output is just incredible. Okay. I love how just the resign in. All right, taking that on board. Okay. I've got three more, but I'm getting conscious of time, so I'm just going to kind of batter through them a wee bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So my next one is Dan Klaus. I think it's enough to say that Dan Klaus creates some of the most eerily kind of mundane looking art. It is very strange in that it's very plain and boring, but with a very offset, unsettling look to it. There is something about it, even the fact that it is sort of clean lines, and it is a very nice illustrative style. There's just something not right about what he draws, even when there's nothing really particularly bad happening within a scene. To get that kind of weird, not quite David Lynch style, but that kind of weird, ominous style about it, is an art. Definitely. I mean, even when he does Wilson, he's more kind of comical strips. There's still something not right about it. There's still something off at the end of the day. Ghost World as well. It's a very sort of teenage girl's story, but it's just something wrong about it. I don't know if it's the color choice or the way he frames each shot with any of them, kind of very plain sort of off-center shots that he uses. But there's just something unsettling about his art, and yet it just looks so striking, so clean, so beautiful. And he's another one who's not exactly a slouch when it comes to creating as well. When he puts a book out, he puts a massive fucking book out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I love how just the residing. Okay. Yep. We're getting to that stage. Okay. I'm gonna whip out a really big one. Scott Mccloud.
Okay. Good.
The man who.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. The man who literally has books on understanding the art form of comics and creating comics. I mean, okay, fair enough. I'm a massive fan of the sculptor that he did, and we've spoken about before how it has that you can tell it's written by somebody who completely extensively researched into the creation of comics. But understanding comics is something all in itself. I mean, this is the Bible right here. In animation, you've got the Animator Survival Kit. In comics, you've got Understanding Comics. I think it's very underplayed to say that Scott Mccloud has such a large influence on comics and modern comics. I think it'd just be insane to not mention him in this conversation of comic book creators. To miss out such a pivotal person who has facilitated so many careers and research along the way would be a complete misnomer to miss him off the list entirely. What do you guys think as far as Scott Mccloud is concerned?
I can tell you about Richard Williams' animation survival.
Mandy?
I definitely agree with you. I mean, certainly it's incredibly important medium. Perhaps his output and amount of books or comics is not as big as others, but the one that he's done are certainly important, and they are good. And certainly the sculptor, that's a lovely graphic novel. That one is a lovely, really good. But yeah, my only thing would be the output, the amount of books he has brought out in all these years. But yeah, his importance, and especially understanding comics books and the other ones, it's a must. So it has to be mentioned in this conversation.
Yeah. definitely.
I would agree on understanding comics for sure.
Yeah.
That's probably like, top 10, top 20 book. It's one I always try to get in the libraries, Like for a basic good library collection, you want that in there. The fact that it's so insightful, and then it is a comic as well, is good. It was a great read when it came out. It was something totally different. And now, as you mentioned, it's they've built whole kind of academic courses around it and things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course he did Zot and all that superhero stuff, which was all right as well.
Yeah. He has had a big career, and it's been going a while, and to have that amount of research to go into making those books as well can't have been easy. You know what I mean? It can't have been some easy feat, and yet he still managed to get 3 books pretty much pumped out one after the other. It's interesting.
Yeah.
My last one is kind of a wee bit of a cheat, and I don't know if we can really class it as a one person, because it's Los Bros Hernandez.
No.
Hernandez brothers, definitely. I think to say that Love and Rockets as a collection and as a constant put out piece of work, I think to say that they couldn't get classed in a sort of top list of the most influential comic artists of all time and comic creators of all time, I think would be a bit ridiculous if you left them off. They're just incredible. I mean, the art is unreal, the stories are brilliant, and to be able to jump in to a very ongoing series and just kind of roll with it and keep going along with it, and the fact that they've written it that way as well is just insane. It's utterly insane. You to have such a long running series and be able to come in at any point. What other series apart from a sort of Marvel or DC, like a Captain America or whatever, what other thing from that would you be able to say you could just jump straight into and know what's going on, or not even care what's going on, just start reading? They're heavy hitters, big ones, definitely.
They're on my list as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't do without them.
Perfect. Well, that's my running. That's my running. And I'm jotting these down as I go to see if there's any that are adding up along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who wants to go next? It's between you two.
Well,
Oh, you want to go, Dave, seeing how you said Hernandez brothers are on yours?
Alright. Yeah, okay. Well, I've got the Hernandez brothers. That's my first choice. Love and Rockets. Yeah, one of the first comics I read when I was looking to get out of something else other than Marvel. Kind of bored with the superheroes and that at a certain point, looking for other things. And Love and Rockets was one of the first. And I was lucky that when I was at that point, they were reprinting the first, 10 issues or so. So they were all sitting there to buy like new comics in the comic shops. So that was really fortuitous for me.
Nice.
And I just always check in with whatever they're doing. It's always going to be, it's usually going to be something really good. I was going to say it's always interesting, but the level that they still work at is great. They've kept it up. I'm considering whether to bash through honourable mentions. I'll just do it quick, right? I'll just say names. I'll not even stop for reactions. How's that?
Oh, geez. Right, okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Right, here we go. Steve Ditko, Mary Fleener, Joe Matt, Dave Mazzucchelli. I realise you're trying to write these, Tom. I'll email them.
No, it's okay. No,
Oh, you're okay. You're good.
Yeah.
Gary Panther, Alex Toth, Louis Trondheim, Carol Tyler, Al Williamson, Jim Woodring. That's my 10 absolute greats that I couldn't get in there because I've got another 10 I need in the top 10. So, I've got Hernandez, right, I've got Kirby, as you know, Jack Kirby. I've also got Alan Moore, as you mentioned.
And just quickly, Tony says on the chat, Mary Fleener, class. There you go.
Agreed. She's great. She
and
was...
Trondheim, yes.
Trondheim, yes! Okay. Bill Watterson, yeah, okay. Alan Moore, Jack Kirby, Hernandez brothers. Now I've got Pete Bagg. Now he's probably my number 3. You know, if I was going, well, he's up there. He's up there with the very top for me. Peter Bagg. I love him, but great writer, dead funny. Love his art. Love the flow of his stories. Love his sense of humour. Just love all of it. Peter Bagg. Peter Bagg number 1. I love hate and I hate everything else. So there's an example of Pete Bagg. Can you see that?
Yeah, mate.
Okay, that's one of those comics in perspective books that they bring out.
I do love Peter Bagg. Definitely, he was very much on consideration for being one of my choices, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. What's time have we got here? Are we over time or what? How?
No, I think we're good. I think we're
okay.
Good going.
Well, Aaron hit you on the head or something, or poke you if he needs to wind you up.
I'm sure Aaron will probably just cut us off and we'll just keep chatting.
We've actually been off for about 10 minutes already. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Next, I'm going to go for Kyle Baker. Hey, How to Draw Stupid, Kyle Baker. Yeah. Started off as an inker at Marvel in the 80s, as far as that's when I first remember him. And his inking was really unusual then. I think he was doing it all with a really loose brush or something, so it looked really different, and I loved it. And then he started doing his own books, Why I Hate Saturn, and he's done loads, Nat Turner. He's another one that I just love his style. Do you know, he is... I love the writing and the art, so that's probably something that I'm saying for most of my choices. Moore being an exception, as we said.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to stop to get anybody else's thoughts on each of these, or should I just bash through?
No, just keep going, buddy. It's all good. But just so you know, we're not tied to time, so don't worry about it.
Okay. Next, I'm going to go for Eddie Campbell.
Oh.
Yeah. Who a lot of people know, of course, from drawing From Hell, but he's an excellent writer and artist on his own. Done loads of self-published stuff for decades. Love his art, love his humour. He's stopped doing as much the last 10 years or so, but great body of work there. I've not got a book of his ready because I didn't really have anything ready. So it doesn't mean I don't love him, you know. I could. Hang on. Wait, here we go. Right, here's an odd thing. Here we go. He's close enough. How to Be an Artist. Eddie Campbell.
Right.
Great book. Rush out and buy that.
That's his Alex stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, Alec. Yeah. And this one is all about. This one is really his career as a comics creator. He goes through all that. And it's just a great read. Oh my god. I might have to read this again. Right.
You're actually getting into it as you're sitting there with it.
Okay, next I'm going to go Robert Crumb.
Okay.
Love Robert Crumb. I love his drawing style, and I do love his writing and his humour, and He was another one that was around when I was looking for different things. Same time as Love and Rockets. He was one of these names that was out there, Robert Crumb. So you had to look into it, And he's a hard guy to defend sometimes,
Yeah.
If anybody says, oh well, it's full of racist and sexist, and you kind of go, yeah, that's kind of my argument against it, But unfortunately, I just loved it anyway. Shit. Excuse the language. So he'd already got his hooks into me before I thought about any negative aspects, really, So I don't know. We could start an argument about that, and there should be.
He is an amazing artist. He really is. There is some of his work that is left to be desired. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is some of his stuff that he's just kind of done off the cuff, just because he needs to get it out there. And you look at it, and it maybe isn't as great because he's not taking the time over it or whatever. Especially with the content sometimes as well. Like you say, some of it's racist and a bit sexist and stuff. But hey ho, that's Crumb is synonymous with it now. That's kind of it.
He operates with that "it's only lines on paper" idea, doesn't he?
Yeah,
so it's like he can do absolutely anything. If he just thinks of it, he'll just do it.
Yeah.
And so there's pluses and negatives to that,
I think it's not understated to say that he has put out an absolute tremendous body of work as well. And that aspect of it, an actual purely creation aspect, he's got a massive body of work behind him.
Indeed.
And did we ever find out if he was more famous than Scott Snyder or not?
I think we did. Maybe we could leave that to the folks at home. Is Robert Crumb more famous than Scott Snyder?
More famous, more influential.
Anything along those lines.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'm going to go on now to. I've got two left, and I'm going to go to George Herriman, Crazy Cat. There
Nice.
we go. And this is so unique. The way, I mean, a lot of you'll have read it anyway, but the way it's written. You read it in your head, and it gets put together in your head as you're reading it, and it's so abstract, but it's brilliant. I just love it. There's nothing I can really compare it to. I don't know if you guys have read much of Crazy Cat. I don't know if I ever brought him to our discussions before.
It's something I've actually only stumbled across recently.
Ah, okay. What do you think?
Caught up on a couple of strips. Really good work. It's I don't know. It's something that I break away as reading that's a wee bit different. It's something I read as a wee bit of a kind of palate cleanser, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
If I'm just needing something a wee bit before going on to maybe another book or something, I'll catch up on a bit of Crazy Cat. But I've just been reading sort of bits and bobs online as opposed to whole collections or anything,
Yeah. I think I first came across it in actually no, that's not true. But I'll follow that story because I started it. It was in Raw. It was in one of the little Raw collections. They had Tiger Tea. That was a big story of Crazy Cat, and that got me really into it. But before that, it had been in the Penguin book of comics that came out in the 70s. I picked up in the 80s. They had selections of it. But you've got to kind of relax into the groove of it when you're reading it.
Yeah.
Because you pick it up and you go, what? This is gibberish. This is just gibberish. But if you just stick with it, I mean, maybe it doesn't click for you, But if it does click, you'll love it. And it's just got something you can't explain. So he's in there for me, George Herriman.
You got go show us some of the interiors.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure what you can make out. I'll get some nice colour pages. Come on. There we go. There's a nice one there. So that's kind of that's the look of it there. Quite abstract, you know, and the backgrounds always change from panel to panel, you know. Great, love it. Telling you, read it. If you're not reading it, read it. Can't fucking read it.
So now we're just threatening people. This is great.
Yeah. Now before I go to my last one, I'm gonna stop to speak about this guy, Toth.
Nice.
Because he's right in there, top creator for me, because the art is ridiculous, you know. It's just, you know what I'm talking about. He draws the example I always have is like there's a little dot in a line. It's beyond words. It's just, you'll draw like a desert in a car, and it's like a little circle in a line in dust, and you go, how has he done that? Every line is like perfect. The composition on the things is ludicrous. You just look and go, oh my god. You know, it's just come on. Look at that panel there.
Yeah.
We're not talking about beautifully detailed, oh look, he must have spent at least 4 years on that one panel, you know? It's not about that. He draws everything that's meant to be there to make it look amazing. The angles of it, and the only thing that really doesn't make him number one is I never read a story worth reading that he drew his whole career. I mean, that's putting it bluntly, but you know, I can't. I mean, if there'd been a great writer and he'd drawn it, you'd be sitting going, okay, that's it, hands up. Everybody just give up now, you know. But from the drawing point of view and the storytelling, he's got it.
Was Toth not on Zorro?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was on Zorro.
I don't know the Zorro stuff.
God. Come on, I've got to show you. Is it showing up at all?
Yeah. It's showing up all right.
Anyway,
Somebody in the chat has said, Toth, yes, horrible person, incredible artist. Try and do it. It's fucking impossible. And they're right.
You can't do it. You can't even bear to look at it half the time.
Yeah.
You go, oh, what? Anyway, so there you go. There's Toth. And what can I say? Okay, now I just gave him a little. That was sort of an extra mention because he wasn't even in my top 10. He was in my 10 runners up. Okay, I'm going to finish on a guy that is influential on me. I love him to bits. James Kachalka. And here's American Elf.
Yes.
And I mean, I know some of you know, maybe all of you know, he did the daily comic every day with the 4 panels. And he would just go through the day and tell it. And so every day you got a different idea, whatever he felt like doing. And it sort of built a life, and it's a unique thing. And that's not the only thing he did. He did a lot of different comics. What's it? The Cute Manifesto. That's like top 10 book for me. That's got a lot of philosophy in there about doing comics, about living, about everything, you know. Yeah. So Kachalka for me is top 10.
Kachalka's slowly but surely getting in mine as well. Definitely. I mean, it was you that passed on the Cute Manifesto to me.
Yeah.
Put me onto his work, and at first I remember looking at him going, what's the fucking deal with like the ears and stuff like that here? What is this? What's going on with this character? And it was like the more I looked at it, I'm going, God, this is fucking genius. Like this is cartooning at its best. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I'll never. I don't think I'll ever get past the fact that James Kachalka's illustrations are just pitch perfect. Absolutely lovely.
It's often underrated.
What was that?
It's often underrated.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a bit in the chat here. Oh, it's Rob. Rob Barnes is saying Toth and Milk Kniff. There you go. That's
Are both shite? Is that what he's saying?
No. Great. That's that's another upvote for Toth right there.
Excellent.
There you go. But yeah, James Kachalka. Do you know what? You've put two into my list. I've got Toth and Kachalka now into my list. I was sitting looking, going, why didn't I put them in? Like,
well, there's so many more that we could have done, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mike, you're the last one.
Yeah. Well, I've got my honourable list, which I'll just say out. Well, I've mentioned Gary Larson, Jim Davis. I've also got Frank Chow, Joe Kubert, Grant Morrison, Alan Grant, John Wagner, Pat Mills, Angela Kincaid, and my pronunciation of this might not be too good, but it's the Italian artist who drew Slain, Massimo Bellarminelli. What's that?
Massimo Bellardinelli.
Excellent, him. That's my honourable mention. And his artwork was, I think, probably among the best for 2000 AD artwork. And I have a list of books with me. You mentioned Calvin and Hobbes earlier, and of course The Demon for Jack Kirby. This won't be a surprise to you that I will also mention Yukito Kishiro, who did Battle Angel Alita. And the artwork is fantastic, and also you'll notice the story is by him as well, because one of the big differences between Japanese manga is a lot of them, and a lot of big Western art, like in Marvel and DC, is that you'll have one guy that does pencil, you have one guy that does ink, you have someone that does letters, color, and you have other people doing stories. Whereas most of manga is done all by one person, and this is no exception. And the artwork is, I think, pretty outstanding.
Yeah, beautiful.
With the character, it's a lot of coming of age with a whole lot of trying to find themselves in a world where they have a past that they don't know, and a heavy amount of ultra violence as well. The next one I'll hold up. Although it's a Japanese idea, the artist I have in mind is Art Adams, who was
Yes.
This is really brilliant. How he gets the shadows in but keeps them solid, I think is brilliant. I like looking at the black and white version more than I would the colour version.
What have you got there, Mike?
That's I'm holding up Godzilla: Age of Monsters. Art Adams is known for doing a lot of Godzilla artwork.
Yeah.
So another one which I know some of you won't agree with is Todd McFarlane. And for David, I'm holding up Spider-Man.
Don't tell me.
Yes, he's one of the ones that disagrees. But one of the reasons I like Todd McFarlane's work is because he brought the spider into Spider-Man. A lot of the previous ones had Spider-Man as a really athletic bloke, but Todd McFarlane gave him more sort of spidery postures. There's emphasis on this other sort of worldly power of Spider-Man. Sticking with Marvel, I have Walt Simonson, and this is volume 4 of his Mighty Thor series.
Yes.
This one primarily focuses around Balder the Brave, though, and his battle to save Carnella, the Norn Queen. But Thor is in there, and at the back he's a heavily bearded Thor, which predates all the films, so... much bigger book now, and I'm sticking with the States here. Mark Schultz. Oh yes.
Oh, okay.
This is
Bloody
at times which later became Cadillacs and dinosaurs. With
Yes.
Anna Dundee and Jack Tenrick.
Nice.
Mustafa Cairo, among other characters. So you can see the level of detail that's in this.
Very nice.
Absolutely
That's a nice-
outstanding. This is a fantastic one. This is like most of the stories. And again, a lot of it's all done by the same artist. Quite a lot of the American artists also did most of the art, the story, and the art on their own.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming back to Britain now. Anvil by Brian Talbot. And it might not be the most detailed of artwork, but I absolutely love the style. I like the story, I like the characters, I like the brutality in there as well. Sorry, Tom.
that Donald Duck?
I'm holding.
Yes.
That is a drunken Donald Duck. It's amazing that none of these companies say, "Hang on a minute, you've just defaced some of our best characters." I think this is the one that infamously has a drunken Paddington Bear somewhere. Oh no, he's in one of the other ones. I really like the brutality of his main character, the Badger LeBrock. But I know you guys have your Kirby and your Watterson, and I actually before I get on to my my third person for your list, I have two comics. These are the British versions of Batman, and you know that I'm a big fan of the Penguin, and this is my favourite incarnation of the Penguin. These stories will get released fairly soon, post-pandemic, into a combined volume, but this story was called The Penguin Affair, and it was released in 1990, and I was, just this morning I thought, yeah, I've got to tell them about this artist, and when I looked, so I've got all three of them in here, and when I looked it was like, hang on a minute, each issue has a different penciler. So, so for the first one, it's got Jim Aparo, who
That's the stuff.
most famously, I believe, did the Death in the Family of Jason Todd. Then the second one has Norman Breyfogle.
Nice.
Who did a lot of Batman, and I think he's one of the co-creators of the Ventriloquist. Now the third one has Mark Wright, who I believe did a lot of work in the G.I. Joe comics. So those guys, it's pretty seamless. When I look at it, I can see little subtle differences between the artwork. I can tell now it's by three different people. But at the time before I read it, it was like it was seamless. It was like, oh, it's all by the one guy, which it wasn't.
Is it all the same inker, Mike?
Let me double check. Ink is Randy M. Berlin for one of them. Mike DiCarlo for another. And for the second, Todd Klein. No, not Todd Klein. Steve Mitchell.
Mm.
So it's a completely different team for each issue. But that was actually at the time when the likes of DC and Marvel were doing massive amounts of titles. So quite often, different people and different teams would be working on the same stories. But for my last person I'm going to mention, and this is like my big one, as you can tell, it's going to have to be Akira Toriyama. This book here is a sample of his art throughout the whole series, and just like I'm saying with the big studios, Akira Toriyama basically did most of his work from a very small room in his house, and throughout his, except for a little while, most of it was basically all done by himself. He did manage to hire an assistant at one point to do a lot of the clerical work that he needed. But he had to buy his own ink most of the time, and that's where the story of Super Saiyans come from. Because most of his characters had black hair, and that would take up a lot of ink. So he made it so the character powers up and his hair goes blonde, which saved him on ink. But there's one drawing in here which is absolutely outstanding. Here we are. It's double paged. The grand finale of the original Dragon Ball series had the martial arts under the heavens tournament, and this is when Goku faced the reincarnation of Piccolo. And just look at the way they're all facing each other. Absolutely brilliant. And all these characters had backstories, and all these characters had strong personalities, and he managed to get them all into this tournament and gave them pretty much head bill, except for the two main characters, gave them reasonably good billing in there.
Yeah.
That's my oh, and a side note, when they released that Dragon Ball Evolution, it dragged Akira Toriyama out of comic retirement of Dragon Ball, and he thought this film was so bad he had to do Dragon Ball Super, and although Dragon Ball Super has its critics, it's light years ahead of anything that Evolution film had.
Yeah.
So that is my he doesn't do the artwork on Super, but he does a lot of the story. So that's my my list of comic icons, and there are a variety of storyteller and artists.
Yeah, completely. Nice one. Well, there'll be no surprise as I'm going through the list here. I was just looking over the list as you were explaining about Akira Toriyama. There is 3 names that come up and are consistent through all of our lists. Well, actually, no. Do you know what? No, there's 2 in particular. There's one that I want to say we all agree on, but Mike didn't actually mention. So it's on 3 of ours. Yeah, it is.
I do like Alan
So,
Moore.
So at the minute, it's looking like our number 1 is Jack Kirby, obviously. No, in no particular order, by the way. We're not doing like this is the top one, the second one, the third one. It's just, the 3. So the first one that we decidedly agreed on was Jack Kirby. The second one that we decidedly agreed on would be Bill Watterson. I mean, we sat chatting about those 2 ad nauseum at the very start. So, and the third, like I say, comes up in 3 of ours, but not in Mike's, is Alan Moore. But I'm not happy with only 3 of us agreeing on one for the last one.
No. I think we're stuck at 2.
It keeps going to that. We always get stuck on 2 and we can never agree on the third. Our holy trinity is never complete. So, I'm going to have a quick look and see if there's any other ones that come up, and then it'll be a sort of a decision between them. The only other ones that kind of come up the same are either Toth, Kachalka, or maybe Scott Mccloud at a push. No, even then he's only on mine.
No.
Ah! This is hard.
We just have
Like
to
the
leave the third
Hispanic
one open, maybe. You know?
We're never gonna agree on all of it. It's impossible. You're gonna have to go with the most voted amongst us.
Okay. Well, if it's the most voted, Mike's just shown Walt Simonson.
I think it's got to be unanimous.
Oh,
It's got to be unanimous. It's got to be.
As
I never
much as
agreed
I
with
like
that.
Alan Moore, I'm not putting him ahead of Akira Toriyama.
See, there you go. For Mike, it's a no. Alan Moore, it's not ahead.
We'll have to get you guys back next year to see if it's changed.
Yeah. We can keep talking about it this way, you know. The conversation can continue.
As far as I'm concerned, for myself, I think the Holy Trinity is Jack Kirby, Bill Watterson, Alan Moore. For me,
I second that.
yeah. Well,
I would be happy with that.
I know that won't go across the board. We've got Rob Barnes in the chat saying Walt Simonson on Thor and FF. So you know, there's a bit of dispute, you know.
Yeah.
I love Walt Simonson, but you know, is he above Alan Moore?
Yeah. Actually, do you know what? If I'm being honest, for me, this is a total cheat answer. But for me, it's going to be Jack Kirby, Bill Watterson, and the entirety of indie comics. There you go. There's my...
Cop out.
Listen, I've just had an idea. Can we get everybody in the chat room to pick one and put it in the chat now and then count them up?
Oh.
Oh, okay. So if you're listening, which I think there's about like 3 people left.
Yes.
If you're in the chat just now and listening, pick one and put it in the chat. Go for it. In the meantime, whilst we're doing that, have we decided on a word? Because there is. Are we going to go with what our previous mates went for, and just go for somebody's bollocks?
That's rude.
There's a.
Yeah, but it was you to say that, David.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what. We'll go with Mike's word. There is.
The ultimate rudest one of all. Too
Yeah.
raunchy for this time. Not 9 o'clock yet.
There is a copy of Gallant and Amos. It's the collection, Aaron, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the hard copy, which you can't buy. Yeah.
That you can't get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So it's the hardcover of Gallant and Amos that you can't get. That I actually have myself. That's it's a beautiful piece actually. Black hardcover, absolutely lovely. That's going, and if you type in the word bum, you're entered into a chance to win that. So that's bum, B-U-M, because bums smell, and we're that comic smell. Word is bum.
Oh, bless.
It's too long a word.
No, I think we're alright. It was between that or Tony's balls, as we had before.
So you've decided on 2 out of 3 then?
Yeah, got 2 out of 3 creators.
That's a good
What
title
would you-
for the episode, to be honest.
I'm
I
gonna
was gonna say
call
the
you in on Saren. Who would you say?
I don't know.
You must decide.
Yeah, that one. It's too many. It's hard to call.
I think we went in with this going, you know, we can get a third. We can definitely get a third, and we've still not managed it. Not managed it. I mean, this has been months on the go, and we've been trying to get blooming 3 top creators of all time. It's hard. We brought up some heavy hitters. I mean, Scott Mccloud and Toth and fucking. I mean, I heard Mike mentioning Pat Mills and his honourable mentions for fuck's sake, and the Hernandez brother. And, you know, this is hard. So yeah, I think we're just gonna have to settle on our own personal Holy Trinities, much like yourselves out there. Let's play the radio presenter part and say, much like yourselves out there, choose your own Holy Trinity of excellent creators.
And where can they tweet their answers to, Tom?
If you come up with an answer to your Holy Trinity, tweet us at That Comic Smell, or you can reach us on Instagram at That Comic Smell. Dave, you're on Twitter and whatnot, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
Yeah, you want at Fred Egg Comics.
Nice.
That's it. Fred. As in Frederick, not fried. Got it?
Got it.
You can also reach us at Uramyx, URAMYX on Twitter, and I can also be found across on the Comic Art Festival podcast for doing reviews as the small press review section, and lovely folks at Fair Spark Books put up with me editing some comics for the foreseeable future anyway, so hopefully. Alan, please don't get rid of me now.
No, and on that front, I'm going to put the link in. You can get issues 1 and 2 of Hopper the Detective of the Strange for £5. Go get it.
You can indeed.
Which beautiful Tom is editing, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely brilliant book. And issue 2, you do not want to miss out on that at all. Not at all. Mike, you're on Twitter, aren't you?
Yeah, if you just type my name on the internet, you'll find that there's not many people with my name.
Yeah, Mike's
I'm on
As
Twitter
it-
and I'm on Instagram, and I've got a DeviantArt page as well. And I think David's got a DeviantArt page, I think.
Yeah, I think there is one there from years ago.
I'm
I've not looked at it for ages.
I've got to say I'm not the biggest social media person, so if you go on Instagram or Twitter and leave a message for me, it might get replied to in a month or two. I am on there.
And you can find Nando's comic of the day has been going up on our Twitter feed. Nando has been suggesting a comic every day for about the past 35 days now or something like that.
56 today.
Yeah, it's amazing.
36. Wow. Yeah.
There's more. There's another one coming tomorrow.
And the day after that?
Yeah, there's. I'll keep going until. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, hopefully everybody out there enjoyed the first That Comic Smell live. I've certainly enjoyed doing it. I had a good laugh with my mates chatting comics as usual, and I wanted to say a big massive thank you to Aaron for being behind the scenes and just chiming in there at the end, and for running this whole convention. I just want to give him a big massive round of applause actually for doing all this.
Cheers.
Yeah.
No, thanks for you guys joining. It's been a great listening to you guys debate all of these creators and the chat in the.
I know I'll get that conclusion. After all that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully when this is all over and we're allowed back up north, I will come visit and say hello in person.
Perfect,
yeah.
Yeah, Aaron, you've got an open invitation to come and join us at any time, mate. Definitely.
Cool. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks for joining, guys. And
You're welcome.
I'll...
Right.
Oh, that was my stretch.
Cheers.
Just stretched halfway through then. Like, yeah. Thanks, guys. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Good.
Bye.
Bye.
And thank you to the awesome guys at the Comic Smell for that great... What did that end up being? That ended up being almost 2 hours of discussing 3 greatest comic creators of all time, artists of all time, which turned out to only be 2. So we'll get them back next year and we'll find out what that third one is, and we'll hold them to ransom, and they're not allowed to move until they figure out that third one. But I just want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone that has been a part of this comic convention. It was interesting to see people take part on the social media campaigns, as well as the videos that we've put up on YouTube, and obviously this live stream. And hopefully next year we'll all be back into the swing of things of doing our face-to-face conventions. But if this is something you guys all really enjoyed, I'll happily do it again next year, and hopefully get a few more people, and hopefully if I can figure out how to do it well, I could hand over to someone in America or at the other side of the pond to try and carry it on during their time as well, because I think that'd be really great. But yeah, thank you again, and I'm going to end it here. But thank you for everyone that has taken part, whether that was retweeting, selling comics, buying comics, being involved in the chat over the course of the last 7 hours. And yeah, and then thank you again for all the donations to the charity. It's really helpful for us going forward, especially at the moment where we're trying to get comic making kits to kids in hospitals in this horrible, tough time. So again, thank you, and I will see you on social media. And until the next time, thanks again, and see you all soon. Love you all. Bye.